All right, so we are factoring trinomials. All right, we have two main kinds of trinomials. We have the easy kind of trinomial and the hard kind of trinomial. Now, that's not what your book calls them. That's just what I got, what I call them. It's easy when there's just a plain old x squared there. If there were a number like 3 or something in front, that's what makes it a hard trinomial. We're just going to deal with the easies right now and switch to the hards in just a second. All right, so I gave you your steps. Okay, step one, you want to circle the last sign. Okay, do that for me. It's the key to your problem. Okay. All right, now you're backwards foiling, so you're going to go ahead and draw me your parentheses. And the only way to break apart x squared is back into x times x. If you were foiling it and you did first time first, that's the only way to get that x squared. That's why we call these the easy kind. All right, but then you're going to ask yourself, okay, about the last number. All right, you're going to say what multiplies for the n number. So let's think about all the numbers that multiply for 12. So start with 12. So that'd be 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and then 3 times 4. So you're going to say what pair of those numbers, and it goes back to what you circles. If you circle a plus, you would say adds for the middle number of 8. Okay, because that's what's in the middle of 8. So which pair of those numbers would add for 8? There you go. 2 and 6, fill them in. Now the part that I neglected, I probably should have put in there, step 4, is fill in your signs. This is where people struggle. So go over to the corner and make yourself this note. Okay, you're always circling that last sign. If you circle a plus, you fill in the same sign, and it matches whatever sign is in the middle. And if you circle a minus, you fill in opposite signs. 1 plus, 1 minus. All right, so let's look at this one. I circled a plus. If I circle a plus, I fill in the same sign and I make them match the middle, so both of these get positives. And if you are not sure you did it right, don't guess. Foil to check it out. All right, easy trinomials are pretty nice. All right, so let's do this one. Circle that last sign. Go ahead and draw your parentheses, break apart your x's, and here we go. So I want to multiply for the n number, which is 15. So let's get my choices. That's 1 times 15 and 3 times 5. So again, I circled a plus. So I would say add 4. What number's in the middle? Still an 8. So which one of those pairs adds for 8? Well, that would be 3 and 5. All right. Now remember, if you circle a plus, they get the same sign, but it's the sign of the middle. So they're both minus. Okay, memorize those sign rules. All right, next four. Okay. All right, circle your last sign. Go ahead and start your answer. Break apart your x squared. This time, I want to multiply for the n number, which is 21. So that's 1 times 21. 2 won't work, and 3 times 7, and that's it. Okay. Now, what sign do we circle this time? Circled a minus. So instead of saying add now, I say I want to subtract for the middle. So I want to subtract for 4. Which pair subtracts for 4? Good. 3 and 7. Now, I got to fill in the signs. So if you circle a minus, they get opposite. 1 plus, 1 minus, and yes, it matters which one goes where. So to get a negative 4, 3 or 7, who would get the negative? Good. It goes with the bigger one. Okay. All right. Here, I want to multiply for 8, the n numbers. It's 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. And I want to add for the middle number, which is 3. Well, do either one of those pairs add 4, 3? Nope. So if it doesn't work, we write prime. Okay. There shouldn't be any prime, though, on your final exam. Alright, so on some problems we have to factor out the GCF first, and then we factor the easy trinomial. So when I look at this one, it really looks like a hard trinomial, but you don't want to work a hard trinomial if you don't have to. So you always look for a GCF first, so like 4, okay? 4 is going to go into all of those. Okay, and what else can I take out of that 4? Okay, I mean, out of those 3, I can also take out an x. So let's take out a 4x. All right, so let's divide those by 4x. I would get x squared plus 3x minus, what is that? 18. Okay. All right, now I can look at the middle and I have an easy trinomial. So let's do this one. Okay, circle that last sign. Break apart your x's. And now I'm going to multiply for 18. That's 1 and 18, 2 and 9, and 3 and 6. Okay? Alright, so which pair, circled a minus, is going to subtract for the middle number of 3? Which pair subtracts for 3? 3 and 6. Okay? Now, don't get this far and do all that right and mess up your signs. Okay, if you circle a minus, they get opposite signs. So 1 plus 1 minus. So to get a positive 3, who would get the positive, the 3 or the 6 get? Goes with the bigger 1. And then anytime you take out a GCF, you have to drop it down in your answer. To get full credit, you have to have all 3 pieces. And then let's do this one. What do 3x squared, 3, and 18 all share? They share 3. So if I take out a 3, I'm left with x squared plus x minus 6. Okay, and now I'm ready to work this one. So what multiplies for 6? That's 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. And subtracts for what number's in the middle? 1. So that would be 2 and 3. Alright, and they get opposite since I circled a minus. So to get a positive 1, who would get the positive, the 2 or 3? Good, the 3. And then I bring down the 3 I took. Alright, so those are all easy trinomials, okay? When it's just a plain old x squared in front, or if I can take out a GCF and get it to be a plain old x squared. Alright, these next ones that we do, we're going to do the hard trinomials. Alright, so this is when you're stuck and you can't take out a GCF. We're going to factor these by grouping, and it's really easy. First step is to get your magic number. So the magic number is the first number times the last number. Don't worry about signs, you're just multiplying 3 times 5 and saying 15. Alright, then list all the pairs that multiply for 15. So that's 1 times 15 and 3 times 5. Okay, so what you want to do is say, I need to figure out which pair could get me a positive 8x. Okay, well, that's going to be the 3 and the 5, right? 3x and 5x. What signs would you put on 3x and 5x to get a positive 8x? And you can kind of go back to the circle the last sign. If you circle a plus, they get the same. So they're both positive. Then you bring down your front term and your back term, and you've got 4 terms now. Factor it by grouping, and that's going to get you the answer. So we just looked at factoring by grouping. So what do 3x squared and 3x share in common? The 3x. Okay, so if I divide those both by 3x, I'm left with x plus 1. Alright, in grouping, remember you copy that sign down. And what do those share in common? I can take out a 5. So if I divide both those by 5, I'm left with x plus 1. And we did it right, but don't forget to write your answer. One time the insides, and if they match, and one time the outsides. Okay, so we have looked at grouping, so it just goes back to that. Alright, so now let's do this one. 3 times 16, that's going to give me my magic number of 48. So let's list our pairs for 48. That's 1 times 48. It's going to be 2 times 24, 3 times 16, 4 times 12, 5 won't work, 6 times 8, and 7 won't work, and then I get to 8, which I already have. Okay? Alright, so let's do your magic number. Let's pick the pair that works. I'm trying to get a 22. Which ones of these pairs could get me a 22? Good. That one. So 24x and 2x. What signs would I put on 24 and 2 to get a positive 22x? Okay, and remember, that tells me they're opposite, but let's see, plus 24 minus 2, wouldn't that get me 22? Yep. Bring down your front one, and your back one, and factor by grouping. So here we go. 3x squared. Oh, I forgot my x right here. Sorry, that was me. All right, so I can take out a 3x here, and I'll be left with x plus 8. This tells me to take out a negative. And between 2x and 16, I can take out a 2. So I'll be left with x plus 8. Remember, you're dividing both those by negative 2. All right, so they match. So one time I have x plus 8, and one time I have 3x minus 2. All right, so let's go through these last hard trinomials. Okay, so magic number here is 24. So that's 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. Okay, which pair is going to add for 10? Okay, be careful. Don't use this one because those subtract for 10. All right, you're trying to add for 10, so that would be the 4 and the 6. And they get the same sign, so they're both positive to get me a 10x. So bring down the front and the back, and now we can really quickly group it. All right, so 8x squared plus 4x I can take out of 4x, and if I divide those by 4x, I'm left with 2x plus 1. All right, remember grouping, we copy that sign, and 6x plus 3 I can take out of 3, so if I divide them by 3, I get 2x plus 1. Perfect, they match. 2x plus 1, 4x plus 3. Okay, here, magic number, 4 times 5 would be 20. So it's 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Okay, so which pair is going to subtract for 22? Have I missed a pair? 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. None of them subtract for 22, do they? There's no way to get 22, so if it doesn't work, we write prime. Okay. All right, this one's going to be big. 6 times 12 is my magic number, so 72. When you're trying to get all the pairs, use your calculator. That'll be 1 times 72, 2 times 36, 3 times 24, 4 times 18, 5 won't work, 6 times 12, 7 won't work, and 8 times 9. You know, take your calculator and start dividing 72 by all the numbers. All right, which ones of these pairs is going to add for 17? 8 and 9, right? So we're going to get 8x and 9x. Remember, if you circle a plus, they get the same sign, and it matches the middle. So these are both negatives. And bring down your back number and your front term. And let's group it. Okay, so I can take out 6x squared minus 8x. I can take out a 2x, and I'll be left with 3x minus 4. Take out the negative, and between 9 and 12 I can take out a 3, and so I'd be left with 3x minus 4. So great. One time it's 3x minus 4, and one time it's 2x minus 3. And here's our last one. 9 times 4 is 36. 1 and 36, 2 and 12. Not 2 and 12, sorry. 1 times 36, 2 times 18, 3 times 12, and 4 times 9, and 6 times 6. All right, which pair would subtract for 5? 9 and 4? Okay. It doesn't matter if you write 4x and 9x or 9x and 4x. You'll get the same answer in the end. All right, but I need signs and their opposites since I circled a minus, and I want to get a positive 5. So I want plus 9 minus 4. Bring down your 9x squared and your minus 4 and group it. Alright, so it's the only thing you can take out of the front is an x, and I'll be left with 9x minus 4. And can I take anything out of the back? Nope, but I need to write something, so we'll write plus 1, and then that doesn't change anything. And so they match 9x minus 4, x plus 1. Okay? Alright, go practice your homework.